Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. Would you like to lose some weight? Perhaps also memorize the Quran. In this episode, I'm going to show you how. Have your credit card ready, call the number on the bottom of the screen, and we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. So somebody wants to lose some weight, or they want to memorize the Quran, or they want to make any other change in their life. So what happens, the person says, for example, I'm going to memorize 10 juz this year. Or let's make it easy, 12 juz this year, 1 juz a month. Now, he says, I'm going to do that, but he says it to himself. So the first day he wakes up, and he wakes up a little late, and like, you know what, I'm going to start tomorrow. And then he messes up that whole first month, I'll start next month. And he messes up the second month, I'll start in the third month. And the year is over and he didn't do anything. One way to encourage yourself to do something like that is to inform your peers, to make it public and to announce to everybody that I'm going to do this. Now what that does is that now your peers, your friends can check up on you. So how would you do that? So you're let's say you want to lose weight, or you want to memorize, or whatever change you want to make, or you want a person to make. They put it on Facebook. They make it public. They tell everybody about it. So if someone checks up on you in 5 months, they're like, didn't you say you were going to do this? Or how's your memorization going? Everyone checking up on you like that, it's further motivation. Don't get this confused with, now am I doing it for them? No, you're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you're using other things to motivate you. Just like, let's say your parents encouraging you to memorize the Quran. It doesn't mean you memorize it for them. There's just an additional motivational factor. So, and if you don't like it, just don't do it. But it's a technique that works. Make your change public. The change you're about to make, announce it to everybody. So now you have to live up to it and not look like a failure in front of everyone. I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to jog and everything, or else everyone's going to laugh at me. I'm going to look exactly the same at the end of the year. So that's one technique. Inform your peers. Well, now, inform the world through Facebook. Technique number 2 for today. Before you ask someone to make a change or do something, ask them for a small favor first. This is one study that was conducted, and they asked someone to they asked people to put a big sign on their lawn, on the front lawn. And the majority of people said no. A very small percentage said yes. Now, big favor? They said no. What they do in this exercise, they came back to them a couple of weeks later. And now they asked them to put a small sign on their window. So most people said yes, a small sign, most people put up on their window. Then those people who agreed to put the small sign on their window, they came back to them weeks later, and now they asked them for that big sign on their lawn, and a much bigger percentage said yes. So you ask someone for a small favor first, then you ask them for a big favor, and they'll do it. Or you ask them, this is as a technique, you can ask them to do something as a favor to you. Here's an example. Someone, you're trying to get him to read a book, let's say on Islam. Let's say it's a Christian person and you want him to read the Quran, or you want him to read some book on Islam. And they tell you no. Why not? Well, because I'm sure of my religion and I'm not interested in finding out about someone else's religion. Now, in this person's mind, reading the Quran indicates that he's not firm in his religion. That's what it means to him. So therefore, I'm not going to read the Quran. How can I get him to read the Quran? By the way, or bring him to the mosque. I want to bring him to the masjid. How can I get him to do that? And he thinks if I come to your mosque, it means I'm searching. I'm not searching. I'm fine with Jesus Christ. Now, look at this. A lot of times a du'at will say, if you come to the mosque, I'll go to the church. I personally don't recommend that. I'm not saying it's haram, I'm just saying I don't recommend that. Why would I do that? Here's a better technique, inshallah. Instead of saying, you come to the mosque, I'll come to the church, ask him to come to the mosque as a favor to you, or ask him to read this book as a favor to you. So remember, in his mind, if I read this book, it means I'm not sure in my religion, and I am sure. I don't need to read your book. Say, look, I know you're sure in your religion, but I'm just as a favor saying, would you just read this book for me as a favor? Now, when you ask someone for a favor, it looks like he has the upper hand, and he's going to do something nice for you out of the kindness of his own heart to you. and you're in the lower position. But realistically, what happened is you got him to read the book, or you got him to come to the mosque without saying, okay, I'm going to go to the church. Now, you may be wondering, like, so what if you go to the church? You might be put into a place of embarrassment. Everyone will say, okay, everybody stand up, and you stand up with everybody else. Everyone, like, bow your heads down, and we're going to make a prayer. And then you find yourself taking part in some things. So without having to do the whole tit for tat thing, just tell him, look, as a favor, I know you're confident in your religion, but as a favor to me, as your friend, could you come? I'm inviting you. I would take it, I would look upon it as a personal favor. So now they feel like they have the upper hand, and they're doing you a favor, but in reality, you still got them to do what you want them to do. Very similar to this technique also is that you do them a small favor and you ask them to do something in return. And when you do that first, there's a great chance that they will reciprocate because of reciprocity, which is something in human nature where if someone does something for you, you want to do something back. Okay, let's look at this a little bit. So this is a true story actually. We were at an event where there was a booth and we were selling Islamic tapes for people. It's a very cheap price. The prices were cheap, and we had some hardcore, salesmen. They would sell you anything. They were well trained and everything. So this is our table. We've got a large variety of material for a good price, and we've got very pushy brothers who are salespeople. They bundle and do all the techniques. Right next to us was another booth, and they had tapes, and not much variety, and not nice design or anything like that, but the sign said they're for free, and next to them was a jar that said donations. At the end of the day, that booth had more money than our booth. How? We've got the pushy salespeople, we've got more variety, better designs, and that person, and good prices too, but his are free. How does he get more money at the end of the day? It's very simple. It's this concept of reciprocating. So he says, like, let's say our tapes were for $2.50 per tape, 2 for $5, right? But for him, the tapes were free, but please give whatever you want to give as a donation. And if you don't want to give a donation, don't give. Now, how many, like if you saw that, if you walked up to a booth that said the CDs are free and donate if you can or if you want to, would you just walk up to that booth, take like 6 CDs and, well, thank you, and walk away? Probably not. You'd be ashamed to do that. So what happens is that someone would come and take a CD and give them a $10 bill as a donation because they feel the need to give back, to reciprocate. So I'm not just going to take your CD for free, I'm going to give you $10. So realistically, it means while we're selling ours for 2.5, he could get up to 10 or 20 as a donation for his. Why? Because of this concept. And this is a known concept, and it was used before in the past. For example, in the 80s, the Hare Krishnas at the airport would give you a flower first and then ask you to make a donation. So why does that make you donate? Because you got a gift and you feel guilty to just take the flower, smell it, and walk away. You know why we don't like the salesperson when we go shopping? Like, you're looking at clothes and you see the salesperson from the store coming at you. What do? You start going the other direction because I don't want to talk to the salesperson. Why do we not want to talk to the salesperson? Because we're going to feel the need to buy. What is that? It's the same concept of wanting to reciprocate. The salesperson spent an hour, going around. He climbed up the highest shelf to get the shoe color that I want and the size that I want. He almost fell. He did a double backflip and landed on his feet and everything. And here it is, sir. And after all this, I'm just going to tell him, yeah, well, thank you, but I'm not going to buy it. So when someone spends a lot of time with us, we feel the need to buy from them. That's why when the salesperson comes to you, can I help you with anything? No, I'm just looking, okay? Leave me alone. Because we don't want to be embarrassed at the end when it's time to leave. Because we want to reciprocate. We feel that they gave us time, we need to give them something else and give them our business. Psychologists mentioned something very interesting. If you want to walk away easily from the pushy salesperson, all you have to do is get them to say the word no to you. So you can ask them for something ridiculous, and the minute they say no, you can thank them and walk away. And you'll feel better because just like they said no to you, you say no to them. So let's say the person is showing me all these kinds of products and everything, and he spent a lot of time, but I don't want it. So then I say something, I'm just going to exaggerate. Let's say it's ridiculous. I'll say, look, give me this whole bundle for $4. The guy's like, no, I can't do that. Well, thank you for your time. It makes it easier for me to walk away. Same concept. Alright, before we end, we've got little time, but let's give one more technique. It's very useful when you're trying to get someone to change their behavior to get them to realize that this new change is not a departure from his values or from his old ways. It's actually a continuation. Yeah. For example, we use this technique a lot of times when we're giving street da'wah and the person's a Christian. In his mind, he might be thinking, okay, so I'm going to abandon what I was upon. I'm going to turn my back on that and move on to something else. That's not what it is, actually. So I want him to see, you're not turning your back on the teachings of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus. You're actually, the new way, which is when you become Muslim, is a continuation of the proper teaching of Jesus. And we actually sometimes say it just like I said it now. So he realizes that I'm not making some shift and going on to something else. I'm going back to what I'm supposed to be upon originally. So you make them feel that the change or this new way is not a departure from their old values or whatever, but a continuation of it. And the reason this works, the psychologists say, is that human beings, we have a need to feel consistent. If we're always jumping around and switching and changing, it makes us uncomfortable. We have the need to feel consistent. So you let them know this change is consistent with who you are. It's consistent with where you want to be. It's not a complete shift and a departure from it. The whole thing about these techniques is that they really do work, inshallah. But all you have to do is try them. And it's of no use if you just amass a number of incredible and good and effective techniques if you don't try it. So I urge you to go out and try it, bi'idhnillah. Sallallahu mubarak ala Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.